What's happening, people? I hope you're all well. This is the J&J Boxing Podcast. I'm here with Aaron Joshua. My name's Jordan Henderson, and we're going to chop it up. We're going to talk some boxing that's coming up, some rumors that have been flying about, and we're going to get into this. So we have heard that Jay Opataya apparently dropped Tyson Fury in sparring and subsequently has gone back to Australia. Obviously, many will have heard, and me and you have heard, that Opataya's team have come out and denied it. But did it happen? Did it not happen? What are your thoughts?
I think I might be in a minority here. I don't actually think it happened, I'm gonna be so real. I feel like they're both, although Joe Patai is a killer, I think he's smart enough to know that he's got a fight coming up the same day as Fury. They're not gonna be going mad out to knock each other out because it doesn't benefit both of them. I think if Opataya did that, he's potentially missing out on another sparring camp, as if there was a rematch, he'll be used again. So if you're going to knock out your sparring partner, you don't really have anything to gain from it. I think the stories you hear of people getting knocked out of sparring is by up and comers. Opataya is not up and coming; he's established world champion. So I think I'm in the minority. I don't think he did it, But it is very interesting. They said there's only 5 rounds, so it does seem a bit pointless coming from Australia to Saudi Arabia for 5 rounds. So I do think, to be honest, they probably did more than 5 rounds. I don't think the whole story's fully true. It wouldn't shock me if Fury did get dropped, but just going on base thoughts, I don't think it's true. What about you?
I think that we will never know because we weren't there. I think that I'm on the fence. I'm 60% sure that it happened, 40% sure that it didn't happen. The reason I say that I'm 60% sure that it did happen is because there's no smoke without fire. Furthering that, what does being dropped mean? Does it mean that he quickly, his hands touched the canvas? Does it mean that he quickly touched the canvas and spring back up? Although I don't think Tyson Fury's springing back up these days. Or does it mean that he was dropped heavily and the spar had to stop? We just don't know. There's so many question marks.
Exactly that.
Was it a slip? And it's been embellished? I don't know. But what I do know is that it's very plausible that Jay Opataya could drop Tyson Fury in sparring. Is Tyson Fury the hardest guy to drop? Boxing stands, are not talking about the average guy on the street. No, he's not. So I think it's plausible. But realistically, would I be surprised if it happened? The answer is no. And with regards to the up-and-coming fight with Alexander Usyk, does it change my perception? No, not really. Because I feel like whether he got dropped by Jay Opataya or not, it's not sort of revelation news. And I'll elaborate on that.
At the end of the day.
Yeah, there's that. And then there's also another point that we already know Tyson Fury can get dropped. So it's not like he had this granite chin. He was like Gennady Golovkin style. And then all of a sudden there's a rumor he got dropped in sparring. And then people say, oh, is Gennady Golovkin, is his punch resistance not what people thought it was? No, we know Tyson Fury can get dropped. So for me, it doesn't change my analysis on the Usyk fight, if that makes sense. Whether it happened or not. It does, because if he didn't get dropped, then cool. But I still know he's been dropped by Pikage, Cunningham, Wilder, etc. in Ngannou. If he did get dropped, well, it's just another guy that dropped him, right? Yeah. So it doesn't change my perception. But I'm 60-40, 60 leaning that it did, 40 that it didn't, but acknowledging that we'll never know. But moving on from that, we have the comeback of Joyce against Cash Ali. What are your thoughts on that? Because it's interesting, people's going to say he's old, he's in his late 30s, he should be jumping straight back in there. Do you agree? Do you think Cash Ali is the right opponent? What are your thoughts overall?
Well, in terms of Cash Ali, one thing with Joyce, we spoke about this before coming on the video, is that I don't want to say this now in hindsight, But Joe Joyce is very beatable. We've seen him get tagged up in all of his fights, and you could be beating him, but he does have that toughness prior to the stoppage loss of just taking the punches, coming forward and overwhelming you. Cash Ali isn't the greatest boxer. We've seen what level he's at, but he's competent enough to give Joe Joyce problems if Joe Joyce isn't on his A game. So in terms of that, I think they should have gone with someone that's a bit slower in their feet, a bit like a Marius Wack. I do think it's a bit risky because you have nothing to gain if you beat Cash Ali. So it's basically all the pressure's on you to make a statement, really. So I do think they could have done something better, or they could have thrown him in against like Adelaide or Sol Dakers or someone like that. I would have preferred that to be honest with you, but it's an acceptable fight. Obviously, coming off two stoppage losses, and let's see what he can do. If it's a quick turnaround and he fights someone decent next, I can understand it. But if he's gonna have one or two fights a year, I think they could have done better with the opponent.
Yeah, man, I can definitely see where you're coming from here. Cash Ali, I mean, I don't know how many rounds it's scheduled for. I'm gonna guess 10. I think Cash Ali could definitely pop his jab out on Joe Joyce and not find it hard to hit him. So yeah, from that perspective, it could be a little bit dangerous, but I expect Joe Joyce to come through that one. I mean, Cash Ali, he lost against the guy coincidentally that Nathan Gorman just lost
Yeah,
against.
yeah.
Um, when David Price put it on him, he was looking for a way out. I think this is a fight where you could see that jab pop in for Cash Ali and maybe being a bit slippery, but Joe Joyce should, if he's got anything about him left, he should come through it. But
Should be dealing
I'm
with him with relative ease.
exactly, bro. I feel I'm concerned. I'm concerned for Joe Joyce because people, did you notice this? Yeah, when when your cousin lost to Ruiz, yeah, people are like, "Oh, is he ever going to be the same? Is he this? Is he that? Is he never going to be? Is he ever going to be the same again?" He looked shell shocked in the rematch. And you can have those arguments. Well, I'm not going to get into it there in this video, but when Joe Joyce lost to Zhili Zhang, there was no talk of is Joe Joyce going to be the same in the rematch? Is Joe Joyce gonna, is his what's his punch resistance going to be like now? No one spoke about it apart from maybe me and you. It's like no one. It's like people just assume that Joe Joyce, and actually it not funny, but Joe Joyce looked nervous as hell when he was
I was gonna
making the
say that
ring.
I think in the second round or the second fight, Joe just got hit with a couple shots and he had that look on his face that okay, like this is gonna end up really bad. And I think if you're seeing those signs, yeah, I think it's a big problem. I'm gonna be real, I do think Joe Joyce heavily relied on his chin. I think he bought into the hype. The way he was talking about the Zhang fight, yeah, his whole marketability was I can take punches. That's very dangerous from a heavyweight. So I do think now you've been stopped, having that one thing that gave you the confidence, getting that stripped away from you is really detrimental. With Wilder as well, we saw it when he fought Parker. That power, he believed it. Even when he got knocked out by Fury, it's proven because he hurt him. As soon as he realized this power's not going to bail him out, he looked like he was questioning what he was doing. So I do think whatever draws confidence from a fighter, if that thing gets taken away, I do think it's very dangerous.
Yeah,
So it's going to be interesting to see what he's like. I think in terms of level of opponent, I think he's a right opponent. You don't want to just throw him in with a Dubois straight away. That was a talk. I think that's a bit dangerous. Let's see what he's like.
yeah, I think that Joe Joyce, I'm concerned because in that second Zhang fight, we saw signs before the knockout. And to me, when he was doing, I don't want to say he was doing well, but he was working his way into the fight. Let me put it that way. And then
What
he got
in the
clipped with the
second Zhang
straight.
fight?
Yeah, and he got
Yeah,
clipped
yeah.
with that left hand, and it was over. Like even if he's like he was throwing punches and he was still like trying to concentrate on the fight, I feel there was a side of him that checked out. Like when he got hit with that, and he
Oh,
was kind
100%.
of,
He 100%. He knew like he got hit and he had that look in his face like, oh, this is gonna happen again. Like I thought this
exactly.
chin could save me. So it'll be interesting to see. Let's see what happens, man. Honestly, I'm looking forward to it in terms of just seeing what Joyce is like, and we'll see. You never know. Moses the time was knocking. You never know. Frank Warren's ruthless. He could feed him to Dubois. He could feed him to. He could feed him to. the winner of the loser of Zhang Parker. Like it'll be a rematch and a trilogy. Do you know what I mean? So his options there.
Yeah, man. We'll see what goes on with Joe Joyce. So, what are your thoughts on the Roly fight, man? Roly's gonna be. Is he on the under? What is he,
He's on
mate?
the undercard of Tszyu versus Keith Thurman that got
Okay.
announced today. Um, well, Isaac Cruz is a 135 pounder, and he's very small at 135, so he's going up to fight Romero, who's a big guy. To be honest, I don't really rate Romero, but also I think Cruz is really crude, so it could be an interesting fight. I think people off the back are gonna naturally be screaming Isaac Cruz knocks out Romero based on that Barroso performance. But I do think it could be a competitive fight, honestly. And it wouldn't shock me if Rolly won. I think that's a good fight. In terms of the main event, Tszyu versus Thurman. Thurman hasn't looked good since probably what? Since he beat Garcia. And that was what, 7 years, 8 years ago? So I think that Thurman gives Tszyu problems because he's dynamic, he's fast. But Thurman's never liked it to the body. He fought Barrios about a year and a half ago, got hurt to the body as well. And Tszyu, although he's a bit basic, can punch, is ruthless. So I do think I understand why they made the fight because they're trying to grow him in the US market, but I do think it is a bit of a mismatch to be honest with you. But it's a decentish card, not pay-per-view, but it is a decentish card.
Yeah, man. I think Roly Romero, man. He's kind of unorthodox, but he just looks dangerous when he's in there. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I feel like Roly Romero. He's the type of guy that will beat a guy that it doesn't look like he should be beating.
Exactly.
But I feel like with him, he's also against a boxer that just doesn't let him get involved and doesn't get caught. He get beat very easy. I don't know if I was gonna say I wanted to see him rematch Barroso, but I don't know, man. I don't know. But Barroso, he's O'Hara Davis, man, that was crazy, man. That was crazy. But at the same time,
He doesn't help himself as well. Like with O'Hara Davis, sometimes with a loss like that, I think it's better just to keep your thoughts to yourself. Blaming it on an aircon, that's a bit mad. I ain't gonna lie, that's crazy. So even if that is the case, sometimes just keep it to yourself, man. It's
yeah.
really gonna help you. And you know you've got haters out there. Anything you say they're gonna bite on, don't give them an excuse to do it.
Yeah, man. It's like David Hay and his toe, innit? David Hay and his
Yeah,
toe.
yeah, 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 yeah.
So yeah, nah, definitely, man. I think that yeah, Broly Romero. One thing about Ramiro is he's entertaining. So I look forward to that one. And then you got Keith Thurman and Tim Tszyu. I think Tszyu all day, man. Thurman just looks like a vulnerable guy now. Like
Vulnerable guy.
he's just
Doesn't have the speed
vulnerable.
like he did before, doesn't have the reflexes like he did before, and doesn't like it to the body.
Yeah, man. He's vulnerable. Even if he's a bit more crafty than Tszyu, I think that he just doesn't have he's not as dynamic as he used to be. So I can see that being a Zoo stoppage, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
Because he's quite ferocious. Who else we got? We
got
have
Waxy
Joshua
Z's next week.
Buatsi. Yeah. I mean, I'm picking Buatsi to win, but not how he would have won before. What's his coach? His coach's name is escaping my mind.
But his coach now,
Yeah.
Virgil Hunter,
But that's it. That's it. My mind just went blank for a sec. He looked better before, like in
look
my
way more
opinion.
dynamic. And you know what it is? I'm definitely blaming it down to the coach because all Virgil Hunter's fighters have a very arithmetic 1-2-1, 1-2-1. Very much trying to. I get what he's doing. He's trying to make the fighters fight at their fighters' pace. But with Buatsi, sometimes don't strip back what makes you so good. If you're ferocious, fast, and athletic, don't strip it back because you're not a good enough boxer. You don't move your head. So I think with Buatsi, I'm in a minority. I think he's gonna win and win relatively easily against Aziz. I think he might even stop him as well. I think he's gonna stop him. But if he does stick to that 1-2 game, I can see Aziz outworking him just because of Aziz pure volume. But like you said, Buatsi before he joined Virgil Hunter, I think would have made light work of Aziz.
Yeah, man. I feel like Buatsi of back in the days, man, would have like knocked out, made light work of Aziz. But even now, with Aziz's improvement, but these days, I don't think he's got the he's trying to box more, but he that's not his
It's
strength.
not,
His
and he
strength
never
is
moves his head. Like this guy against Craig Richards, this guy's head was the center line for the whole fight, and you're lucky you're there with Craig Richards, who's not
yeah.
particularly a banger. Like I just think that fight was a very entertaining fight, but it was just very concerning seeing the way Boaxi's just stagnated. Like everyone was talking about him like he was going to be the standout of the 2016 Olympians. Lawrence Okoli and Cordina both won world titles, and you haven't. You've not even fought for a world title yet. So yeah, it's an interesting fight, but I think Boaxi's going to win.
Yeah, it's very interesting, man. I think Barazzi is going to win it. Not how he would have won him before, but like as you stated there, like he doesn't move his head. His head was literally stat. It's almost like he held it like here, like at times
Yeah,
against
I,
Craig Richards, and like I don't know how it made it look like he was hurt. With many might
I
not
was
have
gonna
been.
say I think I've got a theory why I think I've got a theory. I think he I think he's thinking so much what he does in the ring that it's too much for him to move his body and move his head at the same time. And you can see it as well. Sometimes you have fighters that it's not natural to them. So with Boaxi, I think he's thinking so much what to do that his head's just on center line. And you're right, it looked like he was hurt sometimes, but he wasn't hurt. He was just didn't know what to do. So
Yeah.
this Boaxi fight with Aziz, the outcome of it can show two things. Either Boaxi can mix it up or the whole Virgil Hunter thing's just taken away his dimensions because he's looked very one-dimensional.
I think this guy is going to get hit with a few overhand rights, Buatsi against
Yeah,
Aziz.
yeah.
I think he is. I don't think Buatsi is going to be able to keep that jab extended and keep that as a sort of measuring stick and as a sort of obstacle in between him and Aziz for the whole fight. I think that
Mm.
Aziz will collapse the pocket and it'll be down to Buatsi to catch him with uppercuts and fast combinations. I don't think that he's got the sort of Klitschko-esque sort of maintaining range in him for 12 rounds. I don't think he does. So I
Yeah,
think
yeah, yeah,
he
yeah.
may have no choice but to go back to the old style that he was using at times because this whole extension and then using 1-2 and then 1-2-1 is just saying Aziz will collapse the pocket and he won't have the time and the distance to do that. So I think that he
And
will
you can
have to.
outwork him as well. So if Boaxi's fight to lose, he can make it very easy win, or he can make it very difficult. That style though, even if he beats Aziz, it's gonna be he needs to revert back to the old style because against the two champions, Beterbiev will take his head off,
Yeah, absolutely.
and Bivol would box him and could potentially stop him.
Yeah, I think so.
So I think let's see what happens. Hopefully he shows a bit more dynamicness in this fight, but that's why it's very intriguing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Is there any other news that you want to talk about? Have we even I think we did talk about Zhang Parker. We've talked about that. We've talked about obviously Joshua Ngannou. We'll do a separate one for Joshua Ngannou. Um, is there anything else that's sort of on your mind that we kind of haven't covered?
I don't think so really for this week. There hasn't really been a lot of news. Oh,
No.
there's a fight, there's a fight on Saturday. I even forgot. Munguia versus Ryder.
Is that tomorrow?
Yeah, that's
That's gone
tomorrow.
under the radar, man.
Yeah, I think that's a good fight. I think quick thoughts about that fight. I think it's a good fight, but ultimately, I think Munguia's work range is the work rate is just a bit too much for John Ryder. I think John Ryder sits in the pocket a bit too much. I think Munguia ultimately is a stronger, bigger fighter and will throw punches in bunches. John Ryder maybe land 1-2, but Munguia's will land faster and harder 4, 5, 6. So I think it's a good fight. But I just think John Ryder's work rate is a bit slow. That Canelo fight was a really hard fight for him as well, physically. So let's see how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, John Ryder, he's a southpaw that doesn't use the southpaw advantage. He kind of squares up sometimes. He uses the crouch. He doesn't really use the angles that a southpaw should use. So I feel like Munguia will be able to, because Munguia, he likes the accumulation. He's not a one punch knockout artist, but he'll put his punches together. Now, normally I would say against a southpaw, like you see Joyce versus Zhang, I was saying, it's harder for the pressure fighter to use unload the accumulation with the southpaw and his angles. And I was saying that Joe Joyce might struggle with this assignment,
Yeah,
but with a southpaw that squares his shoulders and tries to collapse the pocket and doesn't use the southpaw angles as much, it's less so. So I think the Munguia probably will win this fight, but I would not be surprised if John Ryder was able to put a dent in him because Munguia was hurt against Derevianchenko.
yep.
Um, so I'm not at all ruling out Ryder at least stunning or rocking Munguia at some point in the fight. But ultimately, I think it's Munguia. But I don't think it will be the 120 or 119 shutout that it was with Canelo. I don't think that's going to happen. I think you're looking more 116,
8-4, yeah,
112.
116, 112, 8-4 type fight.
Yeah,
100%.
man. Yeah, I think that's it. It's not being the livest. A quick one. Someone said to me today, I can't believe Usyk Fury's 3 weeks out. No one's talking
No one's
about
talking
it.
about it. It does show that who the biggest star in boxing is. People are talking about Joshua and Ngannou. Joshua, he hasn't got the belts and he's still the biggest star. So it shows that this whole narrative that Fury's this guy, that guy. I don't think his pay-per-view with Ngannou did more than 400,000 buys in the UK. That's terrible. And considering Ngannou's bringing fans from his sport as well, you would expect it to be more. But that's an interesting fight. We'll do another video on that 100%. But I, I might, but just not going into it. But I think I'm going to be in the minority with my pick for that fight. And I think it will shock a lot of people. But yeah.
Yeah, man. We'll definitely chop it up. I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, that's us for today, I think. So make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment. Make sure you hit that bell icon because YouTube can be funny sometimes. I've been subscribed to channels and I don't get nothing when I literally have to go onto their channel to see that they've uploaded a new video. It doesn't even come up on the feed sometimes. So make sure you hit that bell icon. And also, yeah, just check out regular because we're going to be covering Buatsi and Aziz live next week. We got coverage for Usyk and Fury, Joshua and Garni. So make sure you check back regularly because we're going to be doing this. We're going to be doing it big. And with that, we will see you on the next video and enjoy the rest of your evening.